Welcome to Conflict to Clarity in Family Matters with Rahul Kishore.
Welcome to Conflict to Clarity in Family Matters with Rahul Kishore. Rahul is a seasoned Maryland family law attorney with over 30 years of experience helping individuals navigate divorce, custody, and complex property matters. He also brings a unique perspective as someone with both a law degree and an MBA, making him especially skilled at guiding high net worth and business owning clients through separation. I'm Evan Mack, and in this debut episode, we're talking about how to approach divorce with a cost-effective mindset and what the recent changes to Maryland's divorce laws mean for you. This is the most cost-effective way to get divorced in Maryland, understanding the new grounds for divorce. Welcome, Rahul.
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm well. You're very well-dressed man. I wasn't expecting this man so suited and booted, man. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, well, you got to do that when you go to court.
I want to get into your background, for the people at home, for the people that are just tuning in and they're seeing your face for the first time. What made you choose family law? What kind of clients do you typically work with? But let's start with your background and how'd you get to this point?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, I've been a homegrown Marylander since I immigrated to the United States in 1969, and I lived in PG County and then moved over to Montgomery County, where I'm located now, when I was about 12 years old. So I've been in Montgomery County, where my office is, for a long, long time. And so I also went to University of Maryland, which is down the street here in PG County, but I live in Montgomery County, and I went to undergrad there, and I got a finance and economics degree from Maryland, and I'm a strong Terp and dedicated Terp. I love basketball, and then after that, I graduated from Maryland and went on to GW, which is in our nation's capital, and I did a law degree from there and a MBA. And so I have a very strong business background. I've always liked business. I am in the real estate market. I do real estate. I have some small businesses I've owned on the side and managed. And so after doing my undergraduate degree and my MBA and law degree, I decided that I wanted to go into a field where what I really compassionately love, which is to help people. I love kids. My daughter is a teacher. So I got into something which is custody, family law work. So I decided that I wanted to help people through difficult times in their life. So I decided to go to law school. After graduating, I worked for the federal government for a few years when I graduated in 92. And several years later, I wasn't too happy with the government work, and so I decided to embark on, in 1995, on working on my own, and started this firm with my partner.
That's pretty awesome. I used to live in Montgomery Village in Montgomery County. So
Wow.
what part of Montgomery County? Where do you live?
We're about 2 miles from Montgomery Village. We're about Shady Grove Road. We're right off of Shady Grove. Yeah. That's where we are.
That takes me back. So yeah, and for people at home, that PG that's Prince George's County. Am I right?
Yep.
That's
got
amazing. It. Well, so where'd you where were you from originally though? Where'd you immigrate from?
Oh, I immigrated from India. I was a little baby when I came here. A little baby.
What are you seeing from now as far as like the difference between when you got here now or from more when your people are here now? What's the difference as far as like how things have changed for you?
Well, things have changed a lot. I mean, there is so many immigrants. Montgomery County has a huge amount of immigrants, and we see a diverse community here in Montgomery County. I have in my practice an amazing amount of diversity. I represent probably 50 to 60% of women, and then the rest men. We do have, honestly, split right down the middle in my practice. I normally have a strong practice in mediation because I am a mediator through the court system and trained in mediation Like I said, I've been practicing 30 years in this firm. It's a 30th year anniversary next
Wow.
month, amazingly. And so we see a lot of diversity, but I do have a strong mediation practice and a litigation practice throughout Maryland.
Incredible. What's your philosophy when it comes to helping people get through divorces? I know you helped a lot of people. You're coming up on 3 decades, but what's your philosophy in regards to what you do?
Well, I'll tell you this. My philosophy has always been to get people through a very difficult time in the most expedient process, most cost effective process, and the least conflict through the process. And the reason why I emphasize least conflict is because especially people that have children, okay, I emphasize this, that they have these kids who they're going to be a part of even after the divorce, and the least conflict you have, the better it is for these kids lifelong. I read books all the time about this, and if you go through a very nasty divorce, the kids are affected, and they're affected years and years later. Even as adults, they're affected. So I've always been a proponent of getting through a process in the most quickest way, most cost effective way. And I'm not here to, unnecessarily drag out a case. I always try to emphasize we're going to get the solution, what the law allows you to do, and get that for you in the most effective, cost effective, and time efficient manner. Because if you drag this out, more people, more emotions, more conflict arises.
Maryland became a no-fault divorce state in about October 2023. But what are the three new legal grounds for divorce at this point in time now?
That is a great question. And the reason I say that is my practice for 27 years involved what we call fault ground divorces. And
Wow.
in Maryland, what we used to do, sir, is we used to file divorce based on adultery, desertion,
Mhm.
cruelty, constructive desertion. And what would happen, sir, is that people would file, and we would spend hours and hours in courts with clients bringing in witnesses from both sides trying to prove their ground of fault. Okay. And that was unnecessary, and it created a lot of unnecessary legal fees, a lot of time for the courts. So what Maryland did is many states throughout the United States has have what we call no fault statutes, and we are a no fault state now. And what that it means is that we can get a divorce on only three grounds, and it's a lot more streamlined and a lot more easier to get divorced. Number one, you can do what we call a mutual consent divorce. And I'm sorry that this is a little bit of a dragged out answer, but these are very important things for our listeners to understand. One is mutual consent is you have to get a divorce based on a separation agreement. And the way you do that is you have to do what we call a marital settlement agreement, which has to address all of the issues in the divorce, including alimony, marital property, and if you have children, the physical, legal custody, and child support all has to be addressed in an agreement. If you and your spouse can do that, what happens is you have that agreement and you can file what we call a mutual consent divorce and get a divorce quickly and in what we call an uncontested manner.
Mhm.
And what's amazing in Maryland now is that you can do that, and you can do that even if you're living together. So if you and your spouse are living together and you want to get divorced, but you are willing to live together in the same house under the same roof, you can actually get divorced in Maryland as long as you have a mutual consent, which means you have a separation agreement. That's the first way. The second way is what we call a 6 month separation. Now, in Maryland, prior to October of 2023, you had to be separated 1 full year. So what the legislature has done is reduced it down to 6 months.
Wow.
And secondly, they have also said, which is a very big part of this new statute, is that you during the 6 months you can actually live together under the same roof, which you weren't able to do before, but you have to be in separate places in the house. You have to file a divorce saying I've been separated in the same under the same roof, but in separate places, and we're separated. And the courts will give you a divorce on that. So they reduce the time period, and they allow you to be under the same roof and still get a divorce, which wasn't the case prior to that. And the third way in Maryland you can get divorced is what we call irreconcilable differences. And that's a, catch-all clause that says that we don't get along and we're going to file for divorce for many, many reasons. People don't get along for hundreds of different reasons, as you can assume, from, you know, finances to, we don't agree about marital relations. We don't agree about, what you do every day. Anything can comprise of irreconcilable differences.
Incredible stuff. Well, can you explain how the mutual consent divorce works, though, and why it usually is the fastest and maybe the most affordable route, in your opinion?
Well, it's simple. If you can sit down with your spouse or with the assistance of an attorney or the assistance of attorneys for both parties and come up with terms of all the issues that I addressed before, which is, are you going to waive alimony? Are you going to give alimony from one spouse to the other? Or how are you going to distribute your marital property, which includes, all your assets, including your retirement accounts to, your vehicles, the marital home, your bank accounts, furniture, everything. If you can come up with something to divide all that and how the custody of your children and what we call the child support would be, which is based on the child support guidelines in Maryland, if you can come up with an agreement with the assistance of counsel like myself, what happens is you basically sign the agreement, and we just simply file a divorce complaint, and the court will, and you attach the agreement. You can simply pay the filing fee. You simply get a hearing several weeks later, and you're divorced. So that's why it's straightforward and the easiest and most economical and most time effective, as I said.
So what changed about this separation requirement? It was the same for so long, but what do you think was like the catalyst to maybe bring this upon you and kind of streamline things?
This legislature said that we're wasting too much time talking about what causes the dissolution. Now, I want to emphasize one thing. If you have what I'll call it dirty laundry that you want to bring out, which, in a divorce, people want to say that my spouse doesn't stay home in the night, my spouse has an anger problem, my spouse spends too much money. All of these issues, it's not that the court doesn't want to hear you. They will hear you if you want to discuss those, what I call quote unquote dirty laundry. You can bring those claims in and those issues in if you have to fight a claim. And you might have a claim to fight, and those issues may want to be heard by the court. Like, for instance, if you have an alimony claim, you can bring in those issues because one of the factors for alimony is who caused the dissolution of the marriage. The second thing is that you could bring it up, obviously, if you're fighting for custody of your child. If you want physical custody and the other party wants physical custody, the court will want to be heard. You want to be heard by you about your character. And so those issues can still be brought up. But what we were doing previously is we were spending hours just talking about that to actually get a divorce, because that was the grounds for divorce. Now you don't have those grounds. So in certain cases, which are very important for everybody listening today, we do litigate those issues. We do bring those issues and claims in, but it's not for the purpose of getting a divorce anymore.
But from a strategic perspective, how do you help clients decide which ground for divorce makes the most sense in their particular situation?
Okay, let me put it this way to you. If you and your spouse are transparent and there is no, let's say, domestic violence or control issues between one spouse to the other, and we have an even Steven level playing field, as I call it, then, doing mediation or talking with opposing counsel and everybody knows about the finances, and there's no hidden assets, or nobody's knows if what how much one party makes over the other. If everybody knows all the basic facts and about the assets, then doing a mutual consent and going through the process is something I highly recommend, and because it is cost effective. But on the other hand, if there's domestic violence and one party is not being transparent, and you can tell that there's been many years of non-communication between the parties, then we never recommend to do it through a mutual consent, because what you need somebody to provide all the information and be transparent so that we can negotiate in a transparent manner, in a fair manner for our client. If that's not the case, then we're going to go to litigation, file a complaint, and go through the process.
So for someone kind of worried about spending a fortune on divorce and spending all this money, what's your biggest piece of advice to help keep things simple and keep things affordable?
Well, keeping it affordable, if you have a party that they're transparent and they're efficient, the best way is to provide the documentation that each party is looking for, which are usually your tax returns, copies of valuation of the real estate, tax returns, obviously pay stubs, and with that information, both parties can review if there's going to be an alimony claim. You obviously need a professional who has been doing this for many years, like myself, to see what the educational requirement is. When you have an alimony claim in Maryland, there's many factors that you need to assess whether one spouse can get alimony from the other party. And the factors that I'll go through for a few seconds here are the income of the parties, the duration of the marriage, the educational level of the parties, the standard of living that the parties have had during the marriage, the age of the parties, okay, the occupational level, the income levels is very important. So to keep the cost down is very important to have the information, have an attorney like myself know what are your goals, okay, what are you looking to accomplish, and are you looking for things that the other party is not willing to give you? And the biggest factor that we have to understand is custody and child support. How much time you want to spend with your children, whether you strongly feel that the other party would not be the party that would, in the best interest of your child or your children, would be with you or the other party, or you think that it should be 50-50. You need to discuss those things. And if the only way that we can assess and strategize to see whether we go down the avenue of getting a mutual consent divorce and negotiating and mediating would be that we assess that and determine together whether it's something practical. Otherwise, we would just say you need to file based on irreconcilable differences, or file a complaint based on a 6-month separation, which are both grounds you can file if you don't have a mutual consent, and go through the litigation process. And the one thing I want you to understand and emphasize is that even if you can mediate before filing, we can also have you in the court system in throughout Maryland. They do send you to mediation after filing as well. So mediation can occur after filing. It's just that what I try to do is try to say, if it is appropriate and proper, that we file for mediation prior to filing, because it saves a lot more money. And if you have professionals working together and both counsels are, looking at it in a positive way and working together, then I think mediation before saves you some money, as long as parties are transparent and you're getting all the proper information.
And in your experience, 30 years, do you feel there's more contentious divorces or more amicable divorces?
Well, I can tell you this, after October of 2023, we definitely have streamlined the process and had the process reduced in many cases. And one of the main reasons is that I told what I said to you about the 6-month separation, and that the law in Maryland allows you to live under the same roof now and still file and get divorced, as long as you allege that you're staying in separate parts of the house, different parts of the house. Um, that has expedited and helped a lot of people through the divorce process as
Wow.
well. Because prior to that, you can imagine a lot of people cannot separate. They don't have enough finances to separate to have two um, different houses and litigate an issue when when they don't have enough money, if the monies are tied in together. So what happens is, if you have for instance, if you have a marital home, you can now live together, resolve the issue through the divorce, and maybe sell the house and have enough money for both parties to separate and move on, separately, and have enough money. Because if a lot of the money is tied up with the house, you weren't able to do that previous to October of 2023.
Wow. Mr. Kishore, thank you so much for your time and the information, sir.
Okay, thank you for talking to me today.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening to today's show. If you're thinking about divorce in Maryland and want to better understand your options, or you're looking for a smarter, more cost-effective way to move forward, connect with Rahul Kishore and his team at marylandlawoffice.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.